Frankenstein, Dracula, werewolves, phantoms, zombies, gorgons, mad scientists, abominable snowmen. These are the monsters that they have created. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Ingrid Pitt, Veronica Carson, Oliver Reed, Madeline Smith, Barbara Shelley, Michael Gow, Hazel Court, Bartine Beswick. These are the people that faced the horrors. Jimmy Sangster, Terrence Fisher, Michael Carreras, Peter Sasty, John Elder, Evan Jones, Anthony Hines. These are the people who created the horrors behind Hammer Studios. Welcome to Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, your gateway into classic horror cinema, brought to you by Broken Lighthouse Pictures and Something Wicked Entertainment. Hello everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner-operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to our program today. Now, if you've been listening to our show, which has only been out for not that long, you will realize that what we do is we take an individual Hammer Studio film, and me and my special guest will go through and we will critique, analyze, and generally have a good conversation about the film. We know that you all out there, horror fans especially, love and know the Hammer Studio films, and that's why we have dedicated an entire show to doing nothing but going through each of their film in their film catalog. And so it's going to be a great conversation. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our guest for the day, and that is Jim Adams. Welcome, Jim Adams, to the show.
Hey, yeah, boy, you're putting a lot of pressure on me saying that we have good conversations. Now I'm going to have to make sure that I'm at the top of my game for this one.
Well, yes,
especially because it's a Hammer film, and I'm a huge Hammer lover, as many people know.
Yep, and the film we are talking about today is Vampire Circus from 1972. Now,
we're not talking Ringling Brothers here, folks.
Yeah. So what I want to know, first of all, Jim, is kind of how you came to this film, what were your original inspirations and thoughts about the film?
I first saw it, I was in high school. We had moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and a lot of folks, that listen to my other podcast, I make reference to a monster movie show that used to come on Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock on the local Raleigh, one of the local Raleigh stations, called Sunrise Theater, and that's where I saw this one. And they started running a lot of the Hammer films. And of course, CBS Late Night picked up a lot of them not too long after that as well. But this one I did not see in the early years that I saw Hammer. So I was probably like a sophomore in high school when I caught this one. And I've always been real particular about vampire movies. I mean, I'm really brutal when it comes to critiquing them or what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah.
This one was so different. I really was intrigued with it. It was like, I really liked it because it was such a unique approach to your traditional vampire type story. So I thought Hammer did a fun job with this one. They really did.
I will have to agree with you on that because when I was rewatching it, it didn't dawn on me that they actually break a lot of your traditional vampire rules.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, and because back then they were being very traditional with their vampires, and
right?
Their werewolves and their mummies, and very traditional. And this one breaks a lot of those rules.
Yes.
For me, this was one of the last Hammer films I got around to watching. I have only recently seen this like a year and a half ago for the first time.
Oh wow!
I didn't own this one, and so I had to. I forgot how I originally saw this because I never owned it, and I still don't own it. I had to stream it just recently for the show, and so I watched it for the first time. I was like, "Oh wow, this was much more interesting than I was going to give it credit for." I love the aspect of using a circus, and all that was just so so different. It reminded me of the movie Freaks, Todd Browning's Freaks.
Good analogy, yeah.
But for a worse analogy, I'm going to say worse analogy. At the good spectrum is Todd Browning's Freaks. At the very worst analogy would be Howling Six, The Freaks.
Less said about that is probably the better. And I'm a howling nut. I mean, I like the
I'm a howling
franchise,
nut
but
too. And the only
by
thing
the time they got to 6, it was like it was getting pretty old. But you're really not alone with a lot of people that have not seen this movie, but recently, because it's only really been within about the last maybe 10 or 15 years that this has developed quite a cult following. It got discovered, and I think a lot of it was because our TV viewing got different, and things. Well, 15 years ago, we really didn't have the streaming yet, but it was starting to make its way in, and then I think that really caught fire on this one because people have discovered it.
I just realized how I saw it. It wasn't a few years ago. It was during the whole COVID thing. And
Yeah, a lot of people found it during COVID. Yeah,
Because Shudder had all those Hammer movies I had never seen before, and I finally saw it.
Yep.
That's how I saw it.
yeah. I can't even think about the number of movies I discovered. Well, all the found footage stuff we talked about, and have talked about. A lot of those I found during COVID. So,
Oh my God. We COVID, even though it was a bad time for a lot of
Oh
people,
yeah, it was a very bad time.
it was such a good time for catching up on films that you one had never had access to because streaming was everywhere. Or two, it allowed you to actually, take the time out and catch up with stuff you never knew was out there at all.
Yeah.
I didn't have Shudder until the COVID. I had never even heard of it. It was just really cheap.
I'd heard of it, but I didn't sign up for it until I started streaming.
And so I watched a lot during COVID on Shudder. So yes,
it's funny. It's funny that COVID had such an influence on our movie going because it really sort of has a bearing on what this movie's about.
It does. It's all.
Because it all centers around this plague or whatever that's affecting this little town.
Oh Jesus! So getting into the movie itself, I guess we could get into the movie itself. I guess the best way to describe this film is that at the very beginning, what was the one main vampire who was at the very beginning of the movie? Crap.
Emil? Was it Emil? No, Emil was the other guy. The Count, and his name...
Mittenhouse.
Mittenhouse, yeah, yes. I was going to say. I was trying to find my note on it. I know it was a weird name.
It's a weird name.
Mittenhouse, yeah.
Mittenhouse has this, opens the film, so to speak, with a young girl who is brought in as his willing victim. So
yes.
And of course... This leads
it's the Burgermeister's wife who's seducing this young girl to go into this big castle. I guess there's a castle or mansion.
It's a castle that becomes abandoned at one point. But the Burgermeister, thank you. The Burgermeister's wife is getting this girl. He's watching this happen.
Yes, yeah.
She gets taken into the castle, and of course she gets given to Mittenhouse, the Count there.
Right.
And of course, she dies. But of course, the Burgermeister brings in the townspeople.
And the Burgermeister is played by a very popular Hammer actor. In fact, it's one of the few people you'll recognize in this. Thorley Waters appeared in 5 different Hammer films and was. I'll always remember him as he was a little crazy guy in Dracula, Prince of Darkness, who was staying with the monks at the seminary or whatever there, and then ended up letting Dracula into the place or whatever. But he shows up in all kinds of Hammer films, so he was very popular.
Yeah, and of course after they dispose of the Count, they stake him. They think he's dead, and Anna escapes, and there's a curse that the Count lays upon the town.
Well, here's where they start breaking some of the rules a little bit. I mean, he curses the town. Anna, who's his acolyte, in addition to being the wife of the Burgermeister, not only escapes, but she takes the body and gets it into the crypt, so it's protected because they set everything on fire. Even though he's got this big stake in him, I mean, he's still destroyed, but at least the body doesn't burn up in the fire, which would have been the end of him altogether. And so she allows the rest of the movie to sort of happen down the road.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool because after they get rid of Mittenhouse and, the Count has laid his curse upon the town, I forget if they mention how many years it is after that.
15.
Oh, so they do 15.
Yeah, I had to watch it a couple times before
Okay.
I caught that. It gets very easy to miss the reference.
So it's 15 years later, and a type of plague has cursed the town.
Right. It was COVID 1770. No, this is. By the way, this is a period piece, folks. So it takes place like in the 18th century. They don't identify what kind of plague, but just
No, they don't. They don't.
but boy, they don't mess around. Talk about a lockdown. They you know, the neighboring towns quarantine them. They set up people around the perimeter, and if anyone tries to leave, they shoot them.
I actually really like that concept because it's something.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
That's the one thing I liked about this movie. There's a lot of stuff in here that you just haven't seen in other films.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And having the entire town quarantined off and people sentried out there, and they just shoot. They just shoot you.
Doesn't matter if there's someone coming through the woods, from that direction. They just shoot them. They don't worry about
so
who they were or where they're from. It's just like you're not supposed to be here, so shoot them.
Yeah, because for everyone listening, the ideal behind this is that the town is being quarantined from a plague, and the main doctor, who doesn't believe in the superstitions of
Right.
what's going on in town, needs to get out of town in order to get the information he needs to bring back a cure to the town.
Yes.
So
Yes.
him and his son, his son is going to be a decoy to those soldiers.
Right.
He can actually escape. And the funny thing is, his son is trying to, be the decoy, but he falls off his horse.
Yes.
He's not a very good rider. He falls off his
Oops.
horse.
Yeah.
They're still shooting at him, and that allows his father to.
He's able to slip through. Yeah.
He slipped through, and he finally puts him. I'm going back. I'm going back. And then they just stop shooting. It was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I was
Of course, and I kept thinking, okay, this is like, either early 1800s or late 1700s or whatever, somewhere in that time period. But I'm sure this is, they're thinking back to the days of the bubonic plague and stuff. And so when this kind of stuff happened, people didn't play. They just didn't screw around because that was such a devastating period, even though it was like 400 or 500 years before that. But
yeah.
that stuff really sticks with people. But yeah, that whole concept just blew my mind the first time I saw this. It was like I'd never seen anything like that in a movie before.
Yeah. So when I had to make sure when Anton, which is the son, gets to town, they're all he's talking with the main city councilman, which includes the burgomaster and everyone who was there when the count was killed.
Right.
They're all talking when, of course, the circus comes into town, which is really cool because the thing is, they don't know how a circus got past the freaking.
Yeah. Nobody knows. Yeah, I mean, of course, watching, we're going, gee, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
But I mean, even they play this up a lot in the movies. Like, how'd you get in here? Well, the hell with it. Let's go watch. Let's go do something fun for a change.
Well, how they got in, which is supposed to be a secret.
Yes.
Plays into the demise of some of the characters later on.
Right.
But the gypsy woman, which I don't think they even give her a freaking name. She's just gypsy woman in the credits. So
no, they don't, and she's one of the more recognizable people that people will recognize, even if you haven't watched a lot of British films or whatever. But Adrienne Corey, who I think the first time I really remember was from A Clockwork Orange. She was the wife of the author that Alex and his little Droogie gang broke into their house and raped the wife.
Really?
And she was the rape victim. She was the one that
have to rewatch that. I did not catch that.
That was one of her first movies. One of the first movies she ever made.
It's been a while since I've seen A Clockwork Orange, which is unfortunate because
that came out about a year before this one did.
Oh, so okay. She plays a magnificent gypsy woman.
Oh, she's great.
She's more control over everyone else than anyone else in the film who all have names.
Yes.
Even I think Emil is the Panther Man. I don't even know what's the best word to describe him. But yeah,
he's a shapeshifter, I guess.
he's a vampire shapeshifter.
But he can turn into all kinds of different things. But yeah, he's pretty much the Panther in this.
Yeah, but the sun doesn't affect him at all, so that doesn't really work for any.
No, that doesn't come to play at all in this story at all. The vampires have no problems with that.
Nah, and that's what one of the very interesting concepts of this.
And actually, I don't think all of the circus people are vampires. No. You know, you've got just like 4 of them, I think, are vampires. Because Emil is the main one, and then you've got the twins. You've got the twins that are the acrobats. I believe
but not the strong man. He is just a familiar, and not.
Oh, that's David Prowse. Of course, you know, if you're a Star Wars fan, he's the guy that was Darth Vader, not the voice. But the actual physical Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was funny. I had forgotten that until I watched this movie. I was like, oh.
He was also in A Clockwork Orange as well. He played the bodyguard of that writer after he gets beat up and the wife dies, and they come back to the house later in the movie.
And they killed the other 2 and put them underneath the tent. I can't remember what they did though. I can't remember anymore. Oh, the dancers.
Oh, the 2 dancers. Yeah, that's right. That's the 2 twins.
The dancers. The strong man was a familiar, but the dancers were just random people they had in the circus. And then
this was their only movie, and they were actual twins, and this was their first and only movie.
And then of course the little guy dwarf, which
yes,
he have a name. Shit, I think he had a name either.
I don't think they gave him a name either.
But he's kind of a cool character. He gets a lot to do in this movie.
Yes, he does. And another familiar face. I was just trying to see if I could find him in my notes. This is a big cast. I mean, it was a really big cast.
It's a very like we said. It's a very different type of movies than the other vampire movies that we're familiar with. Like I said, other than the very opening with the Count, they don't really play into the tropes of the.
Yeah, they just call him the dwarf.
Okay. Because the twins use the mirrors as means of like weird, not seduction, but mesmerism.
Mesmerism's good, yeah.
And you know they're vampires, but they use that as mesmerism, and then of course Emil changes into a panther. As like the gypsy woman is like she just could do whatever she. Oh, that's Anna. It was revealed.
Yes, Anna. Anna was her
name. Later on revealed. I mean, we're giving away all this stuff before we get to the story, but we're trying to get all the characters because there's such a huge cast of characters in this movie. And it all makes sense because essentially the main plot is these people are getting revenge for them killing the Count, so they're gonna bump off each of the people that were part of the Count's demise.
Their children or any. Actually, it's not so much the guys that did, that were involved, but their offspring.
Yeah,
or their children or whatever. And I can't remember exactly what he said in the curse, but it was basically he did allude to the fact that the future generations and everybody just totally wipe them out.
Which is why they say the whole town's just cursed.
Yes.
But it's interesting because it starts off with the vampires, but then it goes to the people at the circus who, even though half of them are vampires, they don't really act like vampires.
No, they don't.
So what they do to the townspeople one by one as they kill them is very cool and interesting and different than what you're expecting. And it doesn't get back to like your true vampire film until the very last act.
Right.
When they go back to the fact that they're trying to resurrect Dracula.
This is something that Adrian Corey's character is sort of behind all that, trying to resurrect.
Yep.
The Count or whatever, Count Mitterrand or whatever his name was there.
If it's not Count Dracula, they can't give the Count a decent name.
They gave him a good name, I'll tell you that.
And it's interesting because you have these older characters who are the patriarchs and of the kids that are featured in here with Anton and what is
Dora? Dora's the girl
Dora.
Who's
been in like the first half of it because she's away safe until she decides to venture back to her home.
And of course, Dora is the Burgermeister's daughter and the daughter of Anna, who is now, sort of attached to the vampire to the vampire folks because of her business with that.
Yes, it's interesting in the dynamics of this film, where how all the characters play within the larger scope of the story. It is really a revenge type of story.
Oh, definitely.
The only thing I didn't really get though is how Emil, who is kind of like, Mittenhouse made.
Well, Emil is the cousin of the first vampire. Right. He was Mitten's cousin, and he tells Anna, he says, when she before he's destroyed, he says, go to this circus of the night and talk to Emil and get him to exact my revenge on the townspeople.
Yep, that's right. Yep, so it's just an interesting concept to have these vampires who are doing revenge. I don't think I've seen a concept like this since Fright Night Part 2, when Jerry Dandridge's sister comes back for revenge.
Yes.
But this is much more interesting because it's a whole circus of people with different attributes. I still love the mesmerism when anyone who goes into the Hall of Mirrors and
I love that. Yeah,
they capture them by the twins always capture the victims between the one person who,
or is it they're supposed to see themselves in the past, in the present, and the future, and it's the future one that gets them.
Yeah, and usually it's really cool, especially when they decide to do away with the kids in there as well. No one's safe in this movie at all.
No, not at all. In fact, they used a real. I was trying to find the name of the circus that they pulled a lot of people. A lot of the performers in the movie were actual performers in a well-known British circus. I can't think of the name. It's a guy's name, Billy Curtis. I think it was Billy Curtis Circus or whatever. And I may stand corrected, folks, if I got that wrong. Don't write me. but I mean, so some of the acts you see in here, like some of the acrobats and things that were actual people that performed in an actual popular circus here in Great Britain at the time.
So now that you bring that up, that's actually something we should bring up in the film because the performances are really well done.
Oh, they're awesome. Absolutely awesome.
They take their time in this film to showcase each of the people in their respective traits. And which is really cool because you get to see Emil, who changes from the Panther to the Man several times actually. And then of course you have the trapeze artists, the twins doing their thing, and of course we see the dancers. It's not something that just is glossed over in the film. They're immersing the town into this other world of circus performers, and of course it's mentioned. I can't remember which character mentions it, but one of them mentions that the circus is the only thing that's lifting the town's spirit due to the plague.
Oh yeah, no, that's why they just forgot about how they managed to get into town. Yeah, not get shot or whatever. They just sort of forgot about that because they looked forward to this every night. It was an every night thing.
Yeah, that's a crazy concept too. Just circus comes to town. They do one big performance every night. And the same people come every night.
But and that probably wasn't that uncommon back then. That when you had like touring shows like that would come into these small towns in the 19th century. It's probably how it worked.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, when I was thinking about it, I couldn't find many films that depicted circus acts like this during that time period in films. I couldn't find many of them. It's just something that's just like you wonder. That's what also makes this a very unique concept. You wonder why people don't do that often if it's not in television.
Yeah.
Only other thing I can think of is Carnival or the one season.
Carnival was they did that there.
Yeah, or the one season of American Horror Story.
Yes.
Carnival in that one, and that's pretty much it. They don't do period carnivals like this.
No, they don't. They don't.
It's very interesting.
No, this is this was distributed in Great Britain by the Rank Corporation, which you'll see that on a lot of British films They were a big distributor during this time, and they said this is one of the best films that Hammer had made in quite a while, because their Frankenstein and vampire stuff was sort of dying out.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, they would make a couple more Dracula films after this, and I think they had just made their last Frankenstein film at this point. But they were just very impressed that it was so unique. And the one thing about this, and I want to mention Robert Young, not the Robert Young actor from the United States, but the director, Robert Young, who I was familiar with a little bit of his work, in particular, a short film called Romance with a Double Bass, which starred John Cleese and his then wife Connie Booth. It's a little short film that actually you can get it on DVD or in some collections. Funny movie. Another period piece. And he'd also directed a couple others that I'd seen because had really gotten into British films while I was growing up on monster movies. He tended to go over budget. And I couldn't get the specific budget figures on this, but they were on a tight budget. 6-week shooting schedule, and he went a week over. So the producers come in and they go, "That's it. That's all you can shoot. That's it. And they take all of the footage and give it to this editor and say, "Okay, make a movie out of this." So there's a lot of stuff that he still wanted to shoot and stuff like that. So it's surprised the movie turned out as well as it did. Because there was a lot of stuff. He said, "Well, I needed about another week to shoot some stuff," and they never did get to shoot it. So, but I couldn't tell. I had no idea that was the case until I read about this, did some research on it.
No, that would be
the movie flows beautifully. So
I'll have to let you know after I read the novelization of the movie.
Oh yeah, and the novelization that came out, yeah.
Well, I've talked about this earlier in one of the previous podcasts with the Hammer Studios. Even though they're not putting out movies as much as they were doing, they are doing more modern day novelization.
Right. This was it the House of Horror or whatever it's called, the Hammer House of Horror?
They just Hammer books.
Yeah, that's my idea. The novelization was connected with them somehow.
So, yeah. I mean, they're really cool. I haven't read them all. I'm reading Hands of the Ripper, so hopefully when we get to talking about Hands of the Ripper, everyone, I'll be
another very interesting film.
It is.
Yes.
That's why I decided to read that one first. But I should have read Vampire Circus one first. I might go back now and change my mind or read both of them simultaneously. But the thing is, I can't remember my point. I had a point, everyone.
This is a very deep film, folks. It really is. It's very rich in storytelling and stuff.
And not just that, but like I said, the cinematography for this one, I really, and this is not just for this film, but a lot of the later Hammer films, I'm noticing that I've liked a lot of the cinematography for the later films. And it's beautifully shot. Yeah. So we've discussed on previous shows the early ones because we've already done the very first Frankenstein, the Horror Dracula, and versus the later films in the franchise, and it's much different because obviously after they realized these movies were hits, they started giving them a little bit more money, which went back into production. But by the time this one came out, we know that they were dying down. They knew they were dying down because of by the 70s, everyone was looking into films like Night of the Living Dead, which made a huge hit in 1968, and then other films just like it that were coming out in the 70s. And this was a period Gothic movie with vampires, and they were trying their best to stay alive at this point.
And I think when it came to those kind of movies, Gothic movies, Hammer was one of the best. I mean, some of their finest films all took place in like the 19th century or the 18th century, and even the lesser known vampire ones that would come out here in the 70s, like Taste the Blood of Dracula and stuff, which took place in the early 1800s, were beautifully shot and staged so well. Even if people didn't take to them like they did the others. I had to have to hand it to Hammer that their art design and stuff like that on some of these films, and this was shot outside quite a bit. I don't think it was there was some on soundstage, but not much. So the interiors where you had an interior scene, or whatever. They used some of the sets from Twins of Evil, which had just wrapped a little before that. Which I mean, Hammer does. We've talked about this before. Hammer
Yeah, we have.
would use a lot of sets over and over again, which is no. I have no problems with that.
No.
But they're always beautiful to look at. They really are.
It's the thing they excelled at. They were really good at creating that gothic atmosphere that was
absolutely
kind of lacking in some of Roger Corman's gothic films of the time. If I was to compare the two, I would always go with Hammer films because their gothic films are much more. They make you feel like you're in that time period. Whereas Hammer,
this is a spooky movie. I mean, it's creepy, in some places. You really get the creeps watching it, in a good way. I mean, it really enhances the movie experience. I think anyway. Even watching this a couple of weeks ago, getting ready to do this podcast, it was like, oh, I'd forgotten how much this movie would make some of the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It really did a nice job with it.
Yeah, I think when I saw this during COVID, I definitely saw this one and like Hands of the Ripper, and I went through all of the ones I had just never seen. Hands of Evil, I kind of watched all these back to back again because that was the first time I was able to watch them.
Yeah.
It was I was inundated myself with all these Hammer films that I think now that we're going to have the opportunity to go back through, rewatch them, and reevaluate them. Because the thing I did realize when watching these films during COVID is that I don't have any friends who are talking about these movies. Like
and this one was really not well known at all until just a few years ago, and then all of a sudden it had developed an overnight cult sensation. And it's a shame because a lot of the actors are no longer with us. And it's a shame that they weren't alive to sort of see it come around. There's still a few, like the one who played Dora, and the guy, the Anton. They're both in their 80s, their early 80s or whatever. They're still around. But yeah, it's just a shame that it couldn't have caught fire before some of these folks passed away.
Yeah. I get a little bit of my knowledge about these films from reading the UK magazine Dark Side.
Oh yeah.
I still read that just so I can get an update, a kind of a constant reminder of some of these older films, especially Hammer, because they're always talking about Hammer in their magazine. Absolutely.
There's another gal I wanted to mention, and yes, folks, I was probably madly in love with her at some point. That is a familiar sight, Lynn Frederick, who shows up in a lot of British films that I watched growing up. But she plays Dora. She's the young daughter of the Burgermeister. And this was her one of her early films, known probably more for being married to Peter Sellers at some point.
Really?
And involved with some with the family a little bit when he died, and some problems with the will or something like that as well. But Lynn did a lot of films for Hammer and a lot of British comedies and stuff like that. She was, she did a lot of cheesecake stuff as well. Just a real pretty gal. And of course I could see where she would play the love interest of Anton in this, because she was really quite good looking at this point. She was,
and we all got to remember that in the 70s there was a lot of those, what I like to call now raunchy comedies.
70s was notorious.
Yeah, and that was not just the UK putting those out.
Well, the guy who played Anton has an interesting story in that. I mean, he started out as a model. He was sort of a beefcake model, and they got into acting, and he had a little bit of success acting. And of course, this was one of his early films. But then as he got a little older, the roles started drying up, and he was having trouble supporting himself acting, and so he started making these sex comedies. So he would start doing sex exploitation, what we would call drive-in movies or like that. And a few years ago, when he was asked about that, he said, it's sort of a regret that I had, because at that time, if you went down that road, it was hard to get back into the legitimate stuff. But he said, you had to pay the bills. And, I wasn't able to support myself with regular acting. So I went down that road, and he says, I regret it, but you had to stay alive somehow.
I didn't know that. I never thought about it that way. I remember
he doesn't come across that way. In this film, he comes across as a very innocent guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But and the way they've got him dressed, you would know he was a big bodybuilder. And so if you see some of his publicity photos, it's usually from bodybuilding competitions and things like that. But
Well, he makes for a very good.
He does well in this.
Yeah, he makes for a very good hero love interest in this.
Except for riding a horse, he's not good at riding a horse.
That was the beginning of the movie. By the end of the movie, he knows how to ride a horse really well.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does well in that.
I just thought that was funny that he falls off his horse and he's
it's hilarious.
Still just trying to not get shot.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when he just stands up and says, "I'm going back. You don't need to shoot me now. I'm just going to go back."
Well, there's not a lot of comedy in this film, to be honest with you.
Not really. No. There's very little.
Seduction of the innocents, I would say, between kids being seduced by the carnival, and of course the twins, to Dora being seduced by Emil, and Emil putting.
And she is a target of Emil because she's the daughter of the guy that headed up that whole crowd, the whole throng of people that killed Mitterhaus. So he was right at the focus of this curse.
And what do you think about that? The fact that Emil, until the very end, doesn't really have any type of vampire attributes because he's Panther Man to me.
No, but I like the seduction. They really play up the seduction aspect of it, and I mean it's a beautiful cat that they got. I don't know where they found. I've seen similar panthers in movies like The Cat People and stuff like that, but I mean, boy, this is a beautiful cat that they had. I don't know if that's one they used in like Legend of the Werewolf because that's centered around a little circus as well, but it may have been because they were shot about the same time. I like that whole aspect that he was the one that seduced all of these women, or if the child that they were after was female, then that's he was the one that did it. If it was male, someone else did it. Like the two twins that we were talking about that got killed and buried under the one of the trailers or whatever for the circus. Yeah.
Huh.
So, I mean, seduction had a whole lot to do with this, the whole seductive aspect of these people that were, if you weren't a vampire, you were at least you were an acolyte or whatever, or whatever. I can't think of any other word to call it. I mean, they were just, they were doing, the humans doing the bidding of these spiritual beings.
But that's another interesting thing in this film. There are a lot of them.
Oh yeah. The majority of people in that circus group were that.
The majority of people in the circus weren't vampires.
Yeah, they weren't.
And then of course they had the dancers who had nothing to do with either one of them.
Yes, that's right.
It could have been easy just to have every one of the vampires and have the gypsy woman or the dwarf be the only two human characters. But
right.
Mix it up a little bit and make it much more interesting because even the dwarf gets his scene when he leads the one set of people trying to lead.
Yeah, he comes about where he tries to do the right thing or whatever. But
I don't know if that's the right thing. I think it's
or whatever. But I mean, he sort of backs off, the curse type thing, and a little bit, but he gets his comeuppance, and he's still.
I think the one thing about this movie is that in the third act they do not shy with the violence. In the third act, they kill
it's extremely violent. Yeah,
with just the good characters and bad characters, people start dying.
That's right.
Leaving Anton to save Dora in the same cave in which the Count has made his final resting place.
Yes.
I kind of like all that because it surprised me that that's how the movie was going to end. First of all,
it was not your typical vampire type ending.
Not because then they resurrect the Count, and unfortunately, his resurrection doesn't really lead to much runtime. But
No, no.
he gets resurrected for a mild enough time, and then before he gets dispelled or displaced again. But it's interesting, that they
Yeah.
do that.
And they had some unique ways, like David Prost's character, the strong man. He dies getting crushed by this big cross that's there, or whatever. And they found all kinds of unique ways of getting these vampires.
Yeah.
But I thought getting Mitterhouse was the most. Or let's say, was it Mitterhouse or Emil that had the crossbow death? I think it was Emil, the one where
Yes.
Anton, or was it Mitterhouse? I get confused because people were dying so quickly there at the end.
They are, because right before the twins die, they're trying to
Yeah.
get Dora. They're trying to get Dora and the other one,
Anton, yeah.
in the schoolhouse. And of course, even though Dora does this weird thing where she climbs up really high and
Right.
out of the way, the fact that she drops the cross on one of them.
Yeah, that was David. Yeah, that David Prost's character, the strong. It was Mitterhouse that I think had the most unique death. Because we saw he got staked in the beginning of the movie. Of course, they pulled the stake out, and they actually use it to kill another vampire. But it brings him back, and Anton has this crossbow. Of course, just firing an arrow into him is not going to do anything. But he manages to catch his head in the crossbow, and he's got it cocked back, and he hits the trigger, and the bow, I forgot what you would call it or whatever, but it cuts the guy's head off.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. Who thought of that? That is unbelievable. And of course, now you cut the head of a vampire off. That's pretty much
it.
That pretty much takes care of it right there.
Like we said, there's a lot of interesting things in this. This is nothing if not entertaining from the very beginning to end.
It's very entertaining, yeah.
So even if you're going in watching the gothic aspects and you love vampire films, you are thoroughly entertained by the fact that this is unlike any of the other vampire films out there.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that, especially in this period film from the 70s.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the retread of so many ideals in the other Dracula films, this one feels so different. And
it is completely different, yeah.
Yeah. I think that I honestly believe that part of the reasons why, I keep wanting to believe that at this time, not just people didn't really care for Gothic films, but also the fact that this film didn't have their mainstays of Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee or anyone like that.
Yeah, they were both tied up on other projects.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to get them, but they, Thorley was really the only guy that, longtime Hammer guy that they were able to get for this film.
Yeah, I think it hurt the marketing aspects for this film.
Oh yeah, because the American audiences definitely would be looking for Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, at least Peter Cushing.
Yeah,
or one of them, if not both. Yeah.
But I think that's probably one of the reasons why I waited so long to see the movie.
Probably the same thing for a lot of people, I think.
But like I said, I probably, now that I think about it, that's probably number one reason, because most of the Hammer films I was watching during COVID on Shudder were the ones that didn't have Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
I hadn't gotten around to them. I started watching all the ones I hadn't gotten around to, and I don't think any of them had Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee.
No, yeah, you've got like Kiss of the Vampire, which will come out not too long after this, and that one didn't have, and then that one has a very similar feeling to this one. Although it's strictly vampires, no circuses or anything like that. but I mean, this is where Hammer was really getting very creative in the storytelling that they were doing. Even in the Taste of Blood of Dracula, which did have Christopher Lee in it, and stuff, they were getting very, very creative as to how they were bringing the vampire into the story and all of that. So it was, even though a lot of people thought it was some of their weaker times, when I went back, and I did that in the beginning, I sort of did, I was like end of high school, early college, thought, well, yeah, they don't have the old magic anymore. But when I went back and watched some of these, again, it was like, no, these are pretty good. these really, really were pretty clever and creative. You didn't have Jimmy Sangster, writing all your scripts anymore. I'm trying to remember the. It's terrible. I do this every week. I've got my notes here on the computer, and I always get lost. But the writer, the screenplay was by Judson Kinberg, who's actually an American screenwriter. It was an American who wrote for him, and did a fairly well-known screenplay, but he'd not done much Hammer stuff. So it was interesting. They really were trying out. Of course, a lot of that might have been budget too, because they got so successful with Sangster and directors like Freddie Francis and Terrence Fisher and some of them that they might not have been able to afford anybody. Robert Young wasn't that expensive for them at the time, but other than him going over budget and them just saying, okay, whatever you shot, that's what we're going to make the movie out of. So don't worry about it. Thank you.
To me. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that for the longest time.
I would love to know what all is missing. So now
I have a feeling it has a lot to do with after Mitterhouse is resurrected, maybe.
Think so?
Because it's like they resurrect him and then they destroy him almost like a few minutes later. I mean, it's like
a few minutes. It's like why?
Yeah, you can blink and miss it. It's like, let's bring him back so we can destroy him. Yeah, thank you. So might have had a little bit more in that final confrontation scene, but I mean, it's all solid in my book. I love the way this film plays out.
Yeah. I remember really liking this one when I saw it on Shudder. I remember, and I ended up liking it again when I rewatched it. And I'm glad I was able to rewatch it with this more critical eye.
Yeah, the editor's name is Peter Musgrave, and he's if you ever can get a hold of some of the books about Hammer films, read about this movie and some of the things that Peter has to say about it, because it's quite funny. Where he says, they just threw all this film at me. He said, make a movie out of what we got here. We. Wow. So a lot of credit to Peter on that one. He made
what
it
you're
fly.
telling me is I need to look for the special edition Blu-ray or a 4K version of the movie so I can see what special features are in it and hope that
there might be some. Yeah, might be some special features in that.
Yeah. So for everyone who's listening, normally our guy who lists that type of stuff is Dave Watkins, but neither me nor Jim watch all the special features on these.
It all depends. I mean, and sometimes I'm streaming a lot of these right now, because a lot of my DVDs and stuff got destroyed a few years, back in 2011. So there's a lot of them that I'm streaming or just now have digital copies of.
Yeah.
So I don't have too many that have the special features too, but I used to watch all those things too. Yeah. So I leave it to Dave. I still got my film books survive, so I've still got several film books. It just takes a little longer to get the information out of them.
That's why we have the internet. I have tons of film books.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I have tons of film books too, and I've read several on studios. I wish I had the time to read those books so I can have more insight and give more insight. But for everyone listening, there is plenty of material out there to learn.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
About the making of these Hammer Studio films.
Yeah.
Because of their enduring popularity and influence in the horror genre.
Yeah, it was a really good audiobook, and I think it's just called Hammer Films, that I read about a year ago. That was really good. It was like it opened my eyes and some stuff I didn't know about.
Yeah, I mean, I have two books, maybe three books downstairs in my basement now on my to-read shelf. I have not. I have to say shelf because there's a lot of books on my shelf I have not been able to get around to reading. So. Oh
yeah, I've seen your shelves; they're pretty big. Yeah.
Jim, do you have any other things that we need to make sure that we touch base on for Vampire Circus?
Man, I know we sort of jumped all over the map, which is fine. This is a very unique film as it goes. This is not your tradition. Even people say, "Well, I don't like vampire movies." You may like this one. You just might. This is not your typical vampire movie, and it's very well written. And again, the screenplay that Judson writes for this movie, these characters aren't shallow characters at all. Most of these ones you deal with that are, the victims of this curse or whatever, they go into some pretty good depth on these characters. So you're very interested in what happens to these people. And it's not your typical monster vampire type movie that a lot of times only gives you a couple of really deep characters and then glosses over everybody else. This was a very unique film, and that's what I tell people. Don't bore me giving me the same thing over and over again. Give me something different, give me something new, and they did with that with Vampire Circus, and it's still a good watch. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, it's like, wow, I just forgot how well this movie was made.
So you bring up a very good point that I like to make about Hammer films in general.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they have done so many movies based on monsters. And
yes.
The thing is that when they do a monster movie, they don't go the typical route with their monsters. Just look at Curse of the Werewolf, where you don't even see the werewolf until the last act of the film. Or you
don't see the werewolf until, it's almost like 5 minutes to go and to the end, and then you see him.
Or the Gorgon. The Gorgon.
Another one, yep.
Very big mystery movie throughout.
Absolutely.
This film, The Hands of the Ripper, which is so different than what you're expecting.
Oh, that one defies description sometimes.
Paranoiac, which we talked about on the show. These are some really great
love that film, yeah.
That still hold the test of time. They may be gothic and they may seem period, but they were always that to begin with. Like, they weren't being modern when they made this film to begin with. They were always designed as period films.
Yeah.
So that gives them a little bit of a timelessness, in my opinion.
That's true.
With that, I want to thank you, Jim, for joining us on this conversation about Vampire Circus. For everyone listening to the show, what we like to do at the end is we kind of grade the movie between 1 star and 5 stars. 1 star being extremely poor, 5 stars being exceptionally amazing. Where on the spectrum, Jim, do you put Vampire Circus?
I'm going to give this a 4. I really, really, really like the way it was made. I can't find anything wrong with the acting or the directing, and the look of the film is just beautiful. It's atmospheric, spooky in some sections, and it takes a lot to creep me out. I love it. A film that can really pull me in like that and really get me into the story. So, very strong movie. I'm glad to see now that there's a big cult following behind it, now that it's starting to develop a nice cult following, because it's deserved. It really is.
Well, I'm going to give it a 4 too. I actually really liked this film when I first saw it during COVID, and I still like it even more now. And this being said, for a while there, everyone, when I was watching these Hammer films, they seemed kind of repetitive and redundant, but I never watched them in order. So I didn't have a sense of how the Dracula films were or how the Frankenstein films were because I was doing it in order. But this one, I really enjoyed this one, so I did that. So with that, I want to thank you all for listening to our program, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors. I want to thank you, Jim, for joining us on this conversation into this foray into a different type of vampire film.
Yeah.
From all of us here, I would hope that you will check out our other podcast, Conversations in Horror, which delves into regular horror films, and make sure to check out previous episodes of both shows. Not only that, but you can also check out our sister podcast, Conversations in 4Color, which delves deep into comic books, manga, and graphic novels. That is our Patreon support only podcast, so you do have to be a member of that website to have access to that one. But go ahead and do that. You'll be glad that you did. From all of us here, have a great day, and we will see you on the next episode of our program.
Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures and Something Wicked Entertainment podcast. It is hosted by Kevin L. Powers, original music provided by Dusty Ellison, produced and directed by Kevin L. Powers. Our executive producer is Kelly A. Inoka. This podcast is produced in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors is part of the Conversations in Horror podcast franchise and is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures. No part of this program can be used without express permission from Broken Lighthouse Pictures.